Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 3rd meeting of the Clayton County Board of Education. We're glad that you're here with us this evening. We have a public official who's kind of a standard at our meetings, and this evening he has agreed to come lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I'll ask Mayor Willie Oswalt from the Lake City Council to come forward and lead us in our pledge. Thank you, Mayor Oswalt. Board members, in accordance with Board Policy BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any matter scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. And seeing none, we shall proceed with our agenda. The next item is our public participation. In order to provide a professional and courteous forum for citizens to bring concerns and issues before the Clayton County Board of Education, we ask that all speakers be aware of the following guidelines. All Clayton County Board of Education meetings are video and audio taped in order to ensure fairness and accuracy. Board members will not respond at this meeting to comments from speakers. However, the board chair may choose to offer comments as appropriate. Issues requiring possible action by the board may be added to a future agenda. Issues that may need to be addressed by the school system administration will be duly noted. Abusive language and/or personal attacks on board members, school system employees, or other citizens will not be permitted. All speakers must adhere to the district's civility policy and other rules as may be necessary. In compliance with state statutes, matters of personnel will not be discussed in public. They will be handled in an executive session of the Board of Education after all administrative channels have been exhausted. Only speakers who sign up for this public participation session will be allowed to speak. We ask that they identify themselves before speaking. Time may not be yielded from one speaker to another. Greg Curry will be the timekeeper, and each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. We ask each speaker to adhere to this time limit and step aside when time is called. Our first speaker this evening is Sid Chapman.
Madam Chair, before we start, let me ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
According to the person that was taking the names, I believe we have more than 10 people on the list. Do we have a waiting list?
Yes, ma'am. I think we have 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay, so
beyond the 10.
Are we going to allow all speakers to speak, or what?
Absent a board vote to set aside board policy, we are not, Ms. Gorey. If the board votes to do so, then we will do that.
Okay, so I just want you're willing to do that. Thank you.
Okay, you didn't take that off my time, did you?
No, sir, we added a minute. Right. Just for that, we added a minute.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Jackson, today we began Read Across America throughout the NEA and in Clayton County, and I had the opportunity to go into a few schools and going out to the Children's Museum in Atlanta on behalf of GAE and reading with Superintendent Barge, State School Superintendent. And so I hope everyone is participating in Read Across America. It's very important. But the real issue tonight, as we all know, is the input for the search for a superintendent, permanent superintendent, which seems to really be of great concern. I want to give a little input tonight. I've been through this process now for 12 years. I've seen the good, the bad, and the truly ugly. And we have experienced some really bad results from national searches. As president of the Clayton County Education Association, which represents more than 60% of the teachers in this school system and most of the employees, I can truly tell you that we have had nothing but peace since Interim Superintendent Jackson took her place. It has been nothing but good things said about her, nothing but positive response from the employees. I would hear it otherwise. Now, I admit I'm a little biased. I love Lavinia. I've known her a long time. She's a fine lady. I don't always get my way. She's tough on me because she treats me like her child sometimes and keeps me in line. But she's always fair and she always listens. So what am I saying to you? The administrators, the teachers, the education support professionals, the people that have to work under a superintendent love Lavinia Jackson. Not because she's easy, but because she's fair, because she's kind, because she is not oppressive. We have had some horrible experiences over the last 12 years. I urge you, through whatever process that you take, if it's working, don't try to fix it. We've done that before, and we wound up with some really bad situations. I urge you to consider Ms. Jackson. I know sometimes you say, well, we wasn't going to consider the interim. Well, I guess people can change their mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Our next speaker is Willie Green.
Good evening. My name is Willie T. Green. I'm the immediate past vice president of the Clayton County Education Association, and I'm also a retired educator from Clayton County. I retired in 2010. However, I've been still very active in keeping up with all of the going-ons in Clayton County. Prior to coming here, I've worked 12 years, but prior to coming here, I've worked in Liberty County and also Chatham County, which is where I'm from. And over those 20 years, I had a total of 3 superintendents in 2 counties, just 3. Since coming here in 1998, I think I went through about 8, which was unheard of. The strange thing about it is and I guess I'm echoing what Mr. Chapman just said about Ms. Jackson. It seems to me that every time a search was done or someone came from other places, those were the superintendents where we had the biggest issues with. The interims that we had did fairly good jobs, but they simply didn't get the full-time job. I'm simply saying that if it's not broke, don't fix it. Go through the process that you have to go through, or whatever it takes to make sure that the community has vetted whomever. But please understand that sometimes you've got the best person right in your presence. And in my opinion, it's Ms. Lavinia Jackson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Annette Niles.
Good
Annette
evening.
Niles.
Good evening. My name is Annette Niles. I'm a 30-year resident of Clayton County and a retired Clayton County school bus driver with 17+ years of service. I'm here tonight to appeal to each member of this board and equally to the concerned citizens of Clayton County to exercise a wisdom that supersedes policy in appointing Mrs. Lavinia Jackson to full-time superintendent of Clayton County Schools. I'm reminded of a movie clip from Coming to America where King Joffrey was in a personal quandary over the requirements of an existing law. The queen, however, exercising wisdom, chided the king by saying, "Change the law. You're the king." Law and policy should be flexible enough to allow wisdom its place of consideration, since law and wisdom do not always agree. A familiar proverb from King Solomon admonishes that wisdom is the principal thing, so get wisdom, but in all you're getting, get an understanding. But I understand that if it's not broke, don't fix it. Ms. Jackson is homegrown. She understands the educational climate and temperament of both state of Georgia and Clayton County school system. Performing the duties of interim superintendent since 2012, Ms. Jackson has validated her wisdom and ability to keep our school system on a steady course. It must also be considered that the position of school superintendent is not an isolated entity, but in fact an integral member of this governing body. And by all reference, collectively, this body seems to be in sync, acting toward the common end result, toward the goal of Clayton County Public Schools. Wisdom also understands momentum, and the momentum that this school system has gained under the helm of Ms. Jackson should not be negated at the expense of taxpayers and the students of Clayton County Public Schools. Again, I say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Ms. Jackson has demonstrated her qualification to be an effective and highly qualified school superintendent. Therefore, it behooves this body to exercise wisdom in appointing Ms. Lavinia Jackson to full term as superintendent of Clayton County Public Schools based on the validity of Ms. Jackson's extensive and unwavering service to the students and families of Clayton County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Niles. Our next speaker is Cynthia Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Reese Johnson, and I'm speaking on behalf of Clayton County Education Association, but I wanted to say that I've been a resident of Clayton County for 26 years. I've worked in the school for 26 years. I've worked under several superintendents, and for the last 14 years, we've had 9 different superintendents. And so I want to appeal to everyone here to know that our original dysfunctional school board is gone. So we need to work together to assure the safety and academic success of every child in Clayton County. We hired a former employee, Lavinia Jackson, with more than 30-plus years experience in Clayton County to serve as our interim superintendent. We're now at another crossroad. When the school board brought the issue of making Ms. Jackson our permanent superintendent on Monday, they faced opposition once again from competing factions of community members. Members of our community are requesting a nationwide search for a school superintendent. These searches are costly, ineffective, and unnecessary in our current economic conditions. As both a community member and an employee of Clayton County Public Schools, I want to encourage the board to abandon a costly national search and look inward for our superintendent. We should not deviate from what we promised the community. This is a major decision that needs to be done through due process. I urge you to think about our children and our stakeholders and make the right decision about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Our next speaker is Lois Collins.
Hello. I'll say amen and amen, but I'm going to take this from a little bit different perspective. I came to Clayton County in 1970, started working the PTA in '84. After teaching in Christian school, I've taught in public school in North Carolina, Christian school here. Some of you are smiling. You know me as the drug lady or the lady who loves the hoodlum kids. I won't talk about leadership from that direction, though. During my time, I did get to work for you in an agency. It was funded by the Board of Education and the County Commissioners. During that time, I got to write the drug prevention curriculum for the State Police Academy and teach there. I got to do a 6-year co-chair project with the FBI. And during that time, sometimes I would go in saying, what in the world am I going to do? And Ms. Jackson was always there because my office was in her area. I don't know anyone in all the years that I've been in this county that I've ever respected more, and the people that I work with respected more than Ms. Jackson. She does not micromanage. She builds leadership. She will come and tell you very quietly, maybe it needs to be done this way. I just cannot tell you, if Clayton County can keep this lady, let's do it. And I also want to remind you that in this time, integrity and leadership is the one thing that people need. After Atlanta and the different places and the things that they've gone through, and I don't know anyone that represents that more than Ms. Jackson does. Ms. Jackson, thank you for all the leadership you've done and the wonderful things. I am now your substitute teacher, and in the schools I was in this week, I have to tell you, one teacher came up and she didn't even know me or if I was any stand I took. She said, you know what? I sent an email to Ms. Jackson and she emailed me right back. And when I go around to the different schools, the teachers and the principals all have wonderful things to say. It takes 5 years for a new leader to get through their honeymoon period, and Clayton County does not have 5 years to waste. Let's keep what we've got and let's go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Our next speaker is Carolyn Mazik. She's coming.
Greeting board members and interim superintendent. As the year has begun, the NAACP Education Committee is expecting to see more great things happen with our school system. Our mission is to ensure that all students, including every disadvantaged student and student of color, graduate ready for college or a career by ensuring access to a great teaching, fair discipline, equitable resources, and challenging curriculum. The NAACP is dedicated to eliminating the severe racial inequities that continue to plague our education system. Our ultimate expectation is that every student of color receives a quality public education that prepares him or her to be a contributing member of our democracy. On last Monday, a statement was made from Dr. Alika Anderson that the NAACP has not opened their doors in working with the board. This was an affronting and appalling statement made by the board member. Under the leadership of Madam President Cinnamon Baldwin, we have always included the school board members on all issues, educational issues pertaining to our county, as well as inviting the board to many events. We have reached out on several occasions last year to have a dialogue with you concerning 4 major points. 1, a nationwide search for a permanent superintendent. 2, to give all teachers a raise. 3, to dismantle the zero tolerance policy. And 4, to change the time of the board members. All of our efforts have not been to any avail. We pray we have better success this year with a 100% response versus a 2% response concerning these issues. These issues are major, and we look forward in having a dialogue with you, as the Clayton County recognizes all of you in doing a good job. And we ask that you do not view this appeal for a meeting as any indictment of your abilities to reverse the deplorable graduation rate. Surely you agree that we must do something different. We thank you in advance for your anticipated positive response to meet with us concerning these issues at hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazik. Our next speaker is LaTanya Jackson.
Hi, my name is LaTanya Jackson, and I've been here in Clayton County for 38 years. I graduated. I went to Riverdale High School, but the reason I'm here because on last board meeting, I do not like coming to a school board meeting and voice an opinion contrary to you all and thrown out like a common dog. That's the way I felt. That's what was done to me. I had not broken any laws. I did not agree with the things that were being said. I did speak out, but after I was told from the school police that that was not allowed, I said I would leave out because they said there was no talking. Upon leaving out, I was then shown the door by one of your officers. And that is not right. My civil rights as a citizen, taxpayer, a citizen of Clayton County was violated. I'm highly disturbed about it. And also, board, right to the point, Ms. Jackson, you have aligned yourself with the district attorney of juvenile court, and you want to be our superintendent? No way, lady. You have the fox guarding the hen house? Really? You are totally out of order to not put programs in the school to rather prevent our kids from going to juvenile or doing anything that will stop them. You put parent liaisons in the schools. Parent liaisons in the school, they are irrelevant. We need more counselors. We need counselors with degrees. We need counselors in our schools that can be there to help support our children before a crime is committed, before they have to go to juvenile. We do not want any more money spent at juvenile court with Judge Teskey. We want that money put in the school. If Judge Teskey has money, can he put it toward the schools and programs in the school, not at the jailhouse? It just makes sense to me. No way. And
You still have Ms. Jackson, you still have 30 seconds. He was just giving you a warning, hon. Are you done? Okay, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Larry O'Keefe.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Jackson. My first thing on my list is to laud Ms. Jackson's tenure as interim superintendent. I'd be hard-pressed to top the accolades that have already been given. Ms. Jackson came to us at a time we were in dire need, and I express and continue to express my appreciation. Nothing I say is meant to diminish her service or her capabilities. That being said, I sat here in this meeting last Monday and was disappointed in the demeanor and actions of this board. Some of the things that occurred during the discussion unfortunately reminded me of the same type of rhetoric that was offered by the dysfunctional board that cost us our accreditation. There were call-outs to people in the audience by name, by board members. There were statements directed at individuals off the board, outside the board. We cannot go back down that road. Please. I have respect for everybody on this board. A lot of you have been where I am, and you know what I'm talking about. That's enough of that, please. No matter the outcome of the current issue, please have respect for each other and the community to conduct the district's business in an open and transparent manner. If you do not wish to have the expense of a search, at least post the position and solicit applications for those that are interested. This would at least give members of the board and the community a chance to feel some ownership in the process.
30 seconds.
Okay? Whoever the superintendent is, they must be capable of addressing issues. To do that, you must support them fully. One item that comes to mind in the past week is school security. There was an incident at one of our high schools where a weapon was found, loaded weapon was found on the school property. If I'm to believe the news reports, there was in place metal detectors that were not being used.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Time does move fast. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Bobby Simmons.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Jackson, members of the board. My name is Bobby Simmons. I am a resident of Clayton County, Hampton, Clayton County, Georgia. I will speak on behalf of all of the judges of the Juvenile Court of Clayton County, of which I am one. We appreciate the right of any citizen of Clayton County to express their opinion that a national search is warranted, but we disagree with that opinion. A national search is necessary when you do not have a qualified person in your applicant pool which meets the criteria that you are looking for. We have such a person in Ms. Lavinia Jackson. Now, I have gathered from each of your statements and by your acknowledgments that you believe that Ms. Jackson to be a qualified person. You have also seemed to say that you acknowledge that she is doing a good job and that you would like her to stay in the applicant pool. I know personally from reviewing the data on the children of this school that we are increasing in our graduation rate since she has been in office. Now, some of you may find it prudent to spend $50,000 in the hopes that we would find someone through a national search. We disagree with that opinion as well. Yes, a national search may reveal an applicant more qualified on paper, but does that applicant understand us? And can they work with us? And better still, can we work with them? Lavinia Jackson is an essential figure in our nationally recognized system of care. Now, that system of care that someone was just talking about a second ago is giving us national recognition because we are in the forefront of the fight against zero tolerance. We go around the nation teaching other courts how to fight zero tolerance. The system of care that she's sitting on the board with is not an employment position. It is simply a position where she's giving her advice, and we're working with this school in trying to make sure that children are not arrested for the least thing, and that all this stuff that I hear about zero tolerance, that is just a word used by people who do not understand what's going on in Clayton County. We do not have a zero tolerance policy in that respect in Clayton County, and we lead the nation in fighting that particular thing. I will simply say in closing, we would all agree that in our last 3 national searches, they resulted in what we felt were qualified candidates. So what happened to them? Is it time that we learn from our mistakes and keep a qualified candidate?
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. And our next speaker is Jasmine Taylor.
Good evening, board members and attendees. We are our children's example, as stated by Interim Superintendent Jackson on last Monday. What type of example are we setting if we are showing our children to operate without integrity? If we say something, we should mean what we say and say what we mean. Doing the same thing, and expecting different results is a definition of insanity. Which one are we governing ourselves by? Insanity or integrity? At this moment, I'm going to have to choose insanity because a lot of us are lacking moral integrity. We sit here and we put out our personal feelings. We didn't hire you for your personal feelings. We hired you to do a professional job. Your personal feelings are just that, personal. They don't have anything to do with the education that requires our children to go to college, not to jail. No one is stating that Ms. Jackson cannot do a good job. No one is stating that she cannot be considered for this position. What they are saying is, do what you said you were going to do and do a search. I don't care if the search is only within Clayton County. At least give the people the knowledge that we did look. Pick up a resume, review it real quick, glance at it. I don't care. You can come up here and say, we looked at 10 resumes, and out of the 10, Ms. Jackson was our top pick. And 90% of the people that are angry with you would go away. We're not asking you to throw her away, not saying that. But on last week, you provided the community with a whole lot of personal reasons as to why we need to hire her. Give us the facts. We can't dispute facts. The fact that you cannot keep your word gives me great reason to not take your word on this decision. The fact that you cannot follow the proper process to put her in as our interim superintendent makes me suspect that she is what we need. The fact that our interim superintendent has arbitrarily made decisions without the board she currently works with and will continue to work with concerns me. The fact that we have no goals for her or any other superintendent concerns me massively, because that lets me feel we don't know what we want for our county or for our children. I should be able to trust you to do the job that you were hired to do without having to be here and micromanage you. Operate with integrity, and you won't have so many angry people. Be blessed.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Board members, that completes the 10 people that signed up to speak that's consistent with our board policy. Ms. Gorey.
Well, Madam Chair, you said that there were how many other people?
There are 6 more people on the list, Ms. Gorey.
Well, we can allow the other 6, since, you know, it seems that most people are speaking one way or the other for the superintendent. I would move that we extend the time and allow the other 6 to speak.
I need a second to that motion.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to extend the time to allow the 6 people that remain on the list to speak. Is there discussion, or board members? Let me clear my board here just a second. Is there discussion, or board members, are you ready to vote on that? Okay, I see no discussion, so if you would express your opinion. Okay, it is unanimous, so we'll continue with these 6 people. Our next speaker is Jal Parker. Joel, I believe. Did I do that wrong, dear? I'm so sorry.
Good afternoon, board members, Ms. Jackson. My name is Joel Parker. My name is Joel Parker. I am a food service manager. Just like...
Could you speak right into the mic? Just pull that thing down to you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Joel Parker. I am a food service manager. Just like anywhere, there will be changes. Ms. Jackson has supported my colleagues and uplifted them in a positive way. She has helped lifted the morale of some of my colleagues. I think that it is what we need at this time. Better understanding of what is involved, what is involved in Clayton County and what we need at this point in time. So, Ms. Jackson, I hope you will become our next superintendent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Our next speaker is Jeffrey Benoit.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Interim Superintendent, Ms. Lavinia Jackson, and board members. My name is Jeffrey Benoit. I live at 5783 Rex Mill Drive. I too come to speak to you in response to last week's meeting. First and foremost, we want to really give kudos to Ms. Jackson, who my heart goes out to you. I do understand that you came in at a time when Clayton County was going through a very tumultuous time, and you came in to do the job that you was called to do, and we do appreciate that. Our issue is not with the job that you're doing. are issues with the policies that are set that we seem to circumvent. Clayton County has been going through an issue throughout Clayton County with policies and procedures. The Board of Commissioners has just now got a report back. First things is states policies and procedures. A couple of other cities are dealing with issues of policies and procedures. This board is also dealing with policies and procedures. All that the citizens and the taxpayers and the stakeholders of Clayton County want is to know what the policy and procedure is and for the board to live by that standard. We will be able to live with that. We can't live with circumventing policies that does not include the taxpayers, and we are to foot that decision. We are taxpayers, as you know, and we care about our communities. We've come through a very tumultuous time when we lost accreditation, and we're not looking for another time of that type of experience. We have a very dark cloud over us that we're trying to overcome, and the only way we're going to overcome that is follow our own policies and procedures and do what we have told our constituents we will do. And I would ask this board to remember that our policies and procedures sets the standards. That's all we ask for. We don't ask for no more. We don't ask for no less. Ms. Jackson, God bless you. Do not feel that you are the target. You're not. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. Our next speaker is Richard Jones. Well, I'll come back to him just in a minute in case he has come in. Our next speaker then will be Angel McSwain.
Good evening. My name is Angel McSwain, and I've been a resident of Clayton County for almost 13 years, and I was a counselor in Clayton County for 10 years. My issue is not the quality of leadership that Ms. Jackson has provided. My issue is the leadership of the board, particularly with my district representative of District 1. I don't recall being a part of a superintendent selection process since I've been in Clayton County. And from my understanding, that is supposed to be a part of what the community is. We're supposed to be a part of certain things and certain decisions that are being made. Last year when we had communication via email, I actually asked certain things. And I am one who don't like to make decisions or to talk about emotions, so I'm going to talk about facts. First, when I spoke with you, Dr. Adamson, regarding completing a survey, and I informed you that I completed a survey twice, you responded that taking the survey multiple times could sway the results of the survey. So my question is, when you want to take a survey online, which was what was discussed last weekend, please tell me how effective will the survey be? Because if I have a computer and I'm taking an online survey, who's to say that that survey is accurate and true and correct? Also, you stated that actually at that time you all were ahead of yourselves in doing the survey, since the survey may not be consistent with whatever would be recommended by the firm or group that you would choose to assist with the search. Since May of 2013, I haven't heard anything else about the superintendent search until last Monday. This would lead me to believe that based on your response, a recommendation from the firm or group assisting with the superintendent search would be needed before a survey is developed and given to the public. Next, when I asked, would the community receive information about the superintendent selection process, you stated, at the meeting that you all had during that time, the board discussed the choice of a group or firm to assist with the process. After you chose the group, you would begin the process of the search and a timeline.
30 seconds.
I don't have a concern with Ms. Jackson. My concern is with the board, and as other people have stated, the integrity. The trust is not there anymore, and I feel that in order for you to regain that trust with the community, you have to make sure that you are doing what you say. And as a matter of fact, if you look at strategic goals 3 and 4, That is where the community come in, where we're supposed to have communication and input. So I hope that you will look at the strategic goals and think about what you have implemented in the Clayton County schools.
Thank you, Ms. McSwain. Our next speaker is Willie Oswald.
Good evening, Board. There is not much I can add to what's been said, but in my years of leadership, I've used the 5 acronyms that it works. That's all I can tell you. Prior planning prevents poor performance. So with this board and the steps that's been made from this board compared to years in the past, the planning is paid off. So why do you want to change if it ain't broke? You know, everybody is just like a person. Everybody got body parts. Everybody thinks differently. And I can remember my daddy telling me a long time ago, when every man speaketh well of you, be leery, because everybody's not. But improvements, yes, they can be made. But we've come a long way, baby. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Oswald. Our last speaker, well, I'll come back to Reverend Jones in just a minute, but the next speaker is Tamala Harps. And there's 2 names down here, so I didn't understand. There we go. I do understand now. The second one is Dr. Folami. Did I do that right? You can correct me when you get up here, okay? All right.
Madam Chair, good evening. With protocol already being established, I am Dr. LaWanda Folami. I am a resident of, you can't hear me? Good evening, Madam Chair, and with protocol already being established, I am Dr. LaWanda Folami. I am a citizen and a resident of Forest Park for over 40+ years. I have seen my children come through this same academy to finish and forward their education through high school. I'm honored. I'm honored to see you all being able to get our accreditation. There are some good points. But on January the 8th, it became a sad day around my family. I'm here this evening to support my niece who has a major problem with the school. And I want to say I would like to see more going to college than going to jail. I would like to see more counselor encouraged to go to Upper Bower than going to juvenile. I would like to see more young ladies not getting pregnant and attending Perry Center but forward their education to some other higher learning. We still have clouds hanging over our heads, and it doesn't hurt until it hits home, and it definitely has hit home. So I've been working diligently with my family to break a change, because there is not a devil in hell will bring a curse from Clayton County School into my home. And I say that because I stand on the ground of knowing God is real. And in spite of what anyone say, when you all was running for these seats, I saw you on the street. When you were running for these seats, you knocked on my door. When you ran for this seat, you even asked me to help you campaign. But if I pick up the phone and you can't take our time to say hello, it is a sad day. Let us not forget that you can leave a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can leave a fool to knowledge, but you can't make them think. I refuse to see all our children go down to Clayton County jurisdiction system to get fingerprint and run their record. Now, I know we got good and bad children, true of that, but those who never gave a momely word to the school, we need to look into some situation. We got more people going down on 138 than we have them going up 20, 85, 95. We don't have them leaving going to higher education. So we mark them so when they further their education, they do not want to come back to Clayton County. I want to thank you for listening to me. Behind me, I have my sibling with me, and she will take it at this time. I'm finished, and thank you.
Good evening to the board. My name is Tamala Harps. I am the parent of Howard Bartley, who is a 12th grader at Mount Zion High School. On December 20th, my son was involved into a situation. I was not notified. I did not know anything about it until January the 8th. And immediately, my son was arrested and taken to Clayton County Jail, never been suspended, in detention, ISS, or anything. I reached out to Ms. Jackson via email. There was no response. In response to all of that, I was mentioned to about a tribunal hearing. None was scheduled, and then it was dismissed because of an official code of Georgia stating that time has expired for my son to get his voice heard. And also, due to this situation, I was told by his principal that Clayton County has a zero tolerance policy. And because of this zero tolerance policy, my child is a 12th grader who is not in school, who cannot attend his prom, military ball because he was in ROTC, cannot walk down to graduation to participate with his other fellow classmate in the ceremony. He cannot attend school, and he cannot attend any senior activities. And I'm a parent who's been in Clayton County for 10 years, and I am highly upset because my son is a son who never seen the inside of the Clayton County Jail, and he has. And due to that, my son does not sleep. He has nightmares. He cannot eat. I'm having to put money out for therapy, and it's costing my household a lot because of an incident that I was not notified about. I reached out to everyone, and the only person that reached back out to me was Assistant Superintendent Ms. Hubbard. She was the only one. No one else reached back out to me. This process is still going. My son is right now while I'm standing here on his behalf. He's at home, troubled in the mind, terrified, going through stuff because he was charged as an adult and experienced things as a 17-year-old that he should not have been experienced. And no one called or contacted me. And all I was told of was zero tolerance. And the other person, I'm sorry, that reached out that did not mention was Miss Jessie, is it George? Gorey. Other than that, no one else reached out to me. And I don't understand why. I would like to have answers, and I would like to see something done.
Thank you, ladies. Is Richard Jones here? Richard Jones. Okay. I don't see Reverend Jones, so that will conclude our public participation, and we thank you all for making comments. We've been up here making notes, and your voice was heard this evening. Back to our agenda, board members. There are no board recognitions this evening, and I'll ask Ms. Baker to recognize our public officials.
Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the community. Tonight we have with us Mayor Willie Oswald of Lake City. And we've seen him, and thank you for. And also we have Judge Bobby Simmons of a county juvenile court. And we thank you for attending tonight. Thank you.
Board members, we do have need of an executive session this evening. We have student tribunal to discuss and a personnel issues to discuss. Are there legal issues, Mr. Doyle? No. Just the student tribunal and personnel issues. Okay, so we need a motion to go in.
I would like to ask, well, this might be illegal. I think it should fall under legal. All right, well, it could / be property, I don't know. Question.
Ms. Gorey, have you talked to anyone about that so somebody could be prepared with an answer or information?
The attorney can be prepared for an answer.
Okay, she wishes to raise a legal issue in executive session.
I would like, yeah, I would. He can answer the question. Actually, it's kind of a board question. The board can answer the question, but I think I'm just trying to say it could be one or the other so we won't be in violation.
We want to be straight, don't we? Mr. Dahl?
If it relates to litigation or property, we want to say that in the motion.
If it does relate to litigation, we certainly can add it, or property, either one. So you would like for me to add litigation to the list, Ms. Gorey?
If you want to call it litigation, that's fine. It just relates to property, so I just want to put it out there that, so we're not in violation.
Let's do a laundry list. We're going to go into executive session to discuss student tribunal personnel, potential litigation, and property acquisition. And then when we come back out and sort through it all, we'll tell you what we actually discussed, but those are the topics that we legally can go into executive session for. So Dr. Anderson.
So moved, Madam Chair.
And I need a second to that motion to go into executive session. Ms. Baker?
I second.
And board members, if you would vote now to go into executive session. Mr. Bivens? Thank you. It is unanimous. We'll try to be as brief as we possibly can. Thank you. I'm sorry, I just looked down and saw the superintendent wasn't over here yet. The board is back from executive session. We apologize for the length, but there was just much to discuss. We did discuss a student tribunal. We discussed a personnel issue, and we discussed land either acquisition or sale. We did not discuss potential litigation. I told you I would clarify that as soon as I knew what Ms. Gorey's issue was, and so that's exactly what we did discuss. So I will turn to Vice Chair Dr. Anderson, and she will make our announcements for the evening.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, district administrators, and citizens of Clayton County. Here are the announcements for the month of March. The third month of the calendar year serves as American Red Cross Month, National Nutrition Month, National March into Literacy Month, National Social Work Month, and National Women's History Month. All right. The school board and interim superintendent will hold a retreat on Saturday, March 8th at the Cathy Professional Learning Center, 1087 Battle Creek Road in Jonesboro. The retreat will begin at 8:30 a.m. Also, on March 8th, the district, in collaboration with State Representative Mike Glanton, will be hosting a healthcare marketplace enrollment event at the Cathy Professional Learning Center, 1087 Battle Creek Road in Jonesboro. Navigators will be available at this event to help citizens enroll in an insurance plan using the federally created insurance exchange system. Information on this event can be found on website and flyers, and they will be sent home with our students tomorrow. The final of the district's professional learning days for 2013 and 2014 school year will take place on Wednesday, March 12th. The schedule for early dismissal of our students is as follows. All primary and elementary schools except Unidos will dismiss at 1:15. Unidos Elementary will dismiss at 2 o'clock. Middle schools and elite scholars will dismiss at 2:30. High schools will dismiss at 2 p.m. Eddie White Academy at 1:25, and finally, Ash Street will dismiss at 2 o'clock. The next in a series of stakeholder meetings for the district's comprehensive school-based healthcare center project will take place on Friday, March 14th. The meeting will begin at 8:30 a.m. and will be held at the Unique Minds, 409 Arrowhead Boulevard in Jonesboro. The Clayton County Public Schools Community Health Fair will be held on Saturday, March 15th at Sequoia Middle School, located at 95 Valley Hill Road in Riverdale. Sporting the theme, The Heart of the Matter. The Community Health Fair is from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Many free services will be available to all. Vaccinations for rising seventh graders will be available. The health fair promotes wholeness, wellness, and a healthy community. The Clayton County Public Schools Citizens Budget Committee will meet on Thursday, March 20th at 6 p.m. at the Cathy Professional Learning Center on Battle Creek. The March board work session is scheduled for Monday, March 24th at 6 o'clock p.m. That meeting will be held here in the boardroom. On Saturday, March 29th, a CTAE College and Career Expo will be held at Drew High School, 6237 Garden Walk Boulevard in Riverdale. The expo will begin at 9 o'clock a.m. and will conclude at noon. The April board meeting will be held in the boardroom on Tuesday, April 1st at 6 o'clock p.m. And finally, the district will observe spring break April 7th through 11th. All schools and offices will be closed. Madam Chair, that concludes tonight's announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Board members, we need to approve minutes from previous meetings. First is the Board and Superintendent's Retreat on January the 25th, the Board Work Session on January the 27th, and the Board meeting on February the 10th. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes that you have received? Seeing none, then they will stand as written. Thank you so much. It's time for our superintendent's report.
Thank you and good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board and community. In early February, severe inclement weather caused hazardous conditions throughout the metro area, resulting in our decision to close schools for 2 days. And while we will be addressing our response to the loss of in-class instruction later in this meeting, I'd like to take the time to extend the district's appreciation to several groups of employees and community support personnel who braved the icy conditions to offer a warm, safe place to ride out the wintry weather. Members of our school system police force and security team, our nutrition staffs at Northcutt Elementary, North Clayton Middle, and North Clayton High, and the Jonesboro Police made the outside conditions less intimidating. I want to thank all for supporting our community at a time of need. The First Lady of Georgia will be visiting a Clayton County Elementary School next week to read to students. First Lady Sandra Deal is scheduled to be at Mara Elementary School on Monday, March 10th. She's scheduled to arrive at 8:30 and will spend about 45 minutes at the school. According to her office, the First Lady will read a poem titled Learning to Read and a book titled Who I'd Like to Be. She will then spend the rest of her time at the school interacting with students and staff. Recently, Clayton County Chamber of Commerce and Rotary Club of Clayton County joined with the Professional Association of Georgia Educators to honor top students and staff in our district. The annual STAR Awards were presented, also known as the Student Teacher Achievement Recognition. The STAR Awards recognizes seniors that have the highest scores on other test date on the three-part SAT taken through the November test date of their senior year and be in the top 10% of top 10 students of their class based on grade point average. Our STAR student this year is Trong New of Mara High School. He's selected as his STAR teacher, Jennifer Henley, and we will honor our STAR students and teachers at our April meeting. Judging in the district's annual Hear Our Voices competition has taken place, and nearly 50 students from across the district representing all school levels competed. We're happy to share with you the winners. Each will be recorded, and their presentations will be broadcast over Channel 24 in the coming weeks. And please join me in congratulating these students in their hard work and in composing excellent speeches and delivering them in an effective manner. We're pleased to announce that students from Clayton County Public Schools have been offered scholarships through Posse Foundation. To date, 3 students, Miles Nicholson of North Clayton, Kiara Scott from Jonesboro, and Clark Martin of Riverdale have been identified as recipients. Posse Scholarship is given to public high school students with extraordinary academic and leadership potential. The awards provide support that allows these students to pursue personal and academic excellence. Foundation's partner colleges and universities award these recipients a 4-year full tuition leadership scholarship. I think they deserve a round of applause. Last month, the Precision Step team of Sequoia competed against middle school teams from across the state, earning the first place trophy for the Middle School Division Georgia State Step Team Championships, which is sponsored by the National Step Team Association. The title has earned the team a spot in the National Step Team competition to be held in Orlando, Florida this April. The Sequoia team is currently ranked 3rd nationally and 1st in all of Georgia. Congratulations are in order for the Jonesboro High School mock trial team. The team earned another trip to the state championship by winning at the district level. Jonesboro High School mock trial team will be competing in state competition on Saturday, March 15th at the Gwinnett Justice Center in Lawrenceville. I think they deserve a round of applause as well. 28 middle and high school students representing 10 schools have been selected to participate in the state science fair. These students earn their right to compete at the state level through their participation in the Clayton County Regional Science and Engineering Fair in February. The Georgia Science Engineering Fair will be held in Athens, March 27th through the 29th at the University of Georgia. We congratulate these outstanding students and their teachers and wish them the best as they continue at the state level. The 13th Congressional District of Georgia High School Arts Competition 2 placed this Saturday. We are pleased to announce that Felina Choram of North Clayton High School won the competition. She received a $12,000 scholarship from the Savannah College of Art and Design and a $10,000 scholarship from the Art Institute of Atlanta. Her winning artwork will be displayed at the Capitol Building in Washington, D.C. Jana Benton and Jazreen Hendricks of Mundy's Mill High School earned honorable mention accolades. Clayton County Public Schools turns the spotlight on our top students who also excel on the field of play. The annual Scholar Athletic Banquet will be held at Drew High School tomorrow night, beginning with a reception at 6:15. The banquet will follow at 6:45. 48 students will be honored for their multiple achievements in academics and athletic ability, and we congratulate them as well. And it appears that March Madness came a little early to Clayton County Public Schools as 10 boys and girls basketball teams made it into the state playoffs. We salute all of these wonderful athletes, their parents, guardians, and their coaches for this success. We offer additional congratulations to Drew Lady Titans and the Forest Park Lady Panthers for being one of the top 4 teams in the state in the 5A basketball championships. And an extra special tribute to the Jonesboro High School boys team who will play for the state 4A basketball championship this Thursday at 6:30 at the Macon Coliseum against Columbia High School. Congratulations. And an update on academic achievement will be presented at the board work session on March 24th. And just recently, the district has received from state officials their response to our 5-year facility plan that we submitted earlier, and we are in the process of analyzing this response. And the information contained in this plan, coupled with our soon-to-be completed building capacity report, should provide necessary documentation to move forward with the next steps. We will have a more completed report at our work sessions, and then from there we will have further discussions at board work sessions as appropriate. At the November 18th meeting, Chief Clarence Cox gave you information on school safety. Board members requested an update on school safety, and that information is included in your board packet. We will be giving you that information. Naming of high school number 10 in last week's session, wanted to clarify, as we heard, that many of you may not have expressed seeing the survey for the naming of the high school. So we did a bit of research, and we learned that an email was sent out in November 2013. And in addition, the school messenger was made on that same evening. So we wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance that wanted to make sure they were involved in the naming of the high school. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Board members, I failed to tell you, last week after the end of the board meeting, some of your mics would not work, and they tell me that My mic stays on all the time and the superintendent stays on all the time. But if you speak and you leave your mic on, then others can't cut theirs on. So if you have an opportunity to speak this evening and when you finish, if you would just cut your mic back off just until you need to speak again, that would help these mics work. They say there's not anything wrong with them, okay? Dr. Anderson?
Madam Chair, I just want to know, our police department has been out in the community working with some of the subdivisions in our community, and I just want to know if Mr. Cox could kind of update you all. I was at a meeting with him this week with one of the subdivisions in my area, and Mr. Cox and some of our CCPS police officers came out. They spoke with that community, and it was just really a great thing. I just wanted to see if Mr. Cox could just kind of give an update on what he talked about in that meeting and just kind of let the board know what was going on with that.
Dr. Anderson, I think maybe we could hold that for the
Can we
work
hold it?
session.
Okay.
Could we hold that for the work session? Yeah, we'll hold that one for the work session,
Okay,
Chief.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move on to our consent agenda.
You coming in?
Since he was on his way, we'll just hold it. The consent agenda, board members, is up for approval and includes the purchasing report, the financial report, the SPLOST 4 report, the personnel changes report, and the SPLOST construction update. And the floor is open for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Ms. Baker.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
And I need a second. Dr. Anderson.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
Someone suggested that perhaps if you were not at the work session, you might not realize that we discussed all these in detail at the work session. So someone advised me that I might want to make that comment, that it's not that we're just approving them, but that we have already had discussion. So seeing no lights, then we are ready to vote on the consent agenda. Would you please vote your pleasure? Ms. Gorey?
I'm going to abstain because I have some questions now
Okay.
about one report, and I don't want to say yes.
Thank you, Ms. Gorey. The motion passes with 8 votes in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you so much. The next thing on our business agenda is the Policy Series G, Personnel. We have discussed the policies at the 2 previous work sessions, and at the last work session, we received a revised Policy G, revised revisions reflecting some of the requests from board members. So the floor is now open for a motion to approve the revisions to the Policy G series. Ms. Baker?
So moved.
And I need a second to that. Dr. Anderson?
I second the motion.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure on the G series policies. And the motion does pass with a vote of 7 in favor and 2 in opposition. Thank you so much. The next on our business agenda is the naming of high school number 10. It's the superintendent's recommendation that we name high school number 10 the Martha Ellen Stillwell High School for the Performing Arts. I need a motion that reflects your wishes. Ms. Baker?
Well, never mind. Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for Martha Ellen Stillwell as the name of the new high school.
I need a second to that motion, please. Ms. Johnson?
I second that motion, please.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. And the motion passes with 8 votes in favor and 1 in opposition. The next item on our business agenda is the GSBA legislative positions. Last week, there was limited discussion on this one, but Ms. Gorey did request that on one item we ask for the state school superintendent to continue to be elected and to revise their recommendation to reflect that. I received no opposition from any board member on that one, so with your agreement, then we will we will make that change in the legislative positions, and I ask for a motion to approve the legislative positions, the GSBA legislative positions, with that one change. Ms. Gorey
So moved, Madam Chair.
and Mr. Bivens.
I second it.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. And it is unanimous. Thank you so much. The next thing on our business agenda is we have asked that you name the board chair and the board vice chair as the delegate and alternate at the delegate assembly for the GSBA conference this summer. I need a motion that reflects your pleasure in that. Mr. Bivens
So moved.
and Ms. Burrows. And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. And there are 8 votes in favor and 1 vote in opposition, so the motion does carry. The next on our business agenda is the snow days and testing days, and I'll let the superintendent speak to that one.
Thank you. You have an executive summary on inclement weather instructional makeup days. The recommendation is to amend the school calendar to change the March 17th Staff Development Day to an instructional learning day. No, you don't. In that, we give you information about how we are also looking at the onset of the criterion reference test dates and how we have looked at changing the time that we start to give our children more time for preparation, but that is not the motion. The recommendation is to amend that day because that was a professional learning day, and now we're asking you to make it so that we have instruction for our students on March 17th.
Board members, we have not discussed this particular one because you remember we added it to the agenda at the work session. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's recommendation, and then we can have discussion, okay? So is there a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation? Ms. Baker?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation in regards to the snow days.
And Dr. Anderson?
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, and now because we have not had an opportunity to discuss this, this is the appropriate time to do so. We received this was on e-board on Wednesday, I believe. Are there questions or comments, or Ms. Gorey?
Madam Chair, let me see, you say, Ms. Jackson, you say all you want is for us to decide on the snow day. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I wish are we moving? I would think that we would just go ahead and vote on both of them, the snow day and knowing exactly when the testing day is, so that parents could plan for it. I don't want to extend the calendar, but I was also thinking that we seem to have missed about 6 days at least of instructional time, about whether or not we should not have a couple of those early dismissal days. I don't want to add any days to the calendar because I know that people have already made their plans, but I was thinking that we at least might not need to have some of those professional days, that maybe we could, add at least one more other day of full instruction. But I don't know if you looked at that, but
Yes, ma'am, we did. But what we looked at was the full day of instruction for this particular day, and to be as the least disruptive as we could be, given that parents had already planned for many of those days. And so when we looked at that, as well as spring break, all of those days, and given that what we have planned to do as with the teachers and with our administrators, how we're planning to support our students as well.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the superintendent's recommendation of how we're going to make up the snow days. Are you ready to vote, board? If you are, then please indicate your desire. Okay, and it is unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to, I want to commend Ms. Jackson on this because I've been looking at the television, although I kind of would like a little bit more instructional time, but I've been looking at some of the other counties and, extending the day and adding some of those days, like, adding 30 minutes really does not make a whole lot of sense. You get about 5 more minutes in the period. So I do thank you for taking into consideration prior plans, for our students, but I just want to make certain that we, are going to support our children.
Yes,
by having some things in place for them instructionally.
Yes, ma'am, and we're going to send out a communication to our parents and to our students as well about what we're intending to do and how we would like participation for every day that we're in school. And so that will be going out as well.
At our last meeting, board, we had extended discussion of the superintendent search update, and at that particular time, the board voted to kind of wait a little while, and we had a committee made of Dr. Anderson and Ms. Baker and Ms. Gorey that were going to represent the board as far as working out a survey to get the opinion of the public. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Baker to report on the workings of that committee. Board, you already have the workings of that committee, but I wanted her to report it for our public.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As stated, Dr. Anderson, Ms. Gorey, and myself met, and we met on Wednesday after the meeting. I found it a very productive meeting. We had a chance to discuss many things. Our decision was to send out a survey, which will go out shortly. It is a very short survey, so don't be surprised. It has to do with what it is you expect. Is it a national search? Is it a local search? Those kind of questions there. And then what is the best way for you to give input? We've all heard different ways, and to see not just a way to give input, but several ways. But what is the best way for you so that we can reach as many people as we could? I felt that, again, that it went very smoothly, and we actually had some laughter, so I think that's good. And at that point, when we get those results back, then we will know what the next step is to move forward.
Ms. Baker, we had said something at that meeting about 30 days, so shall we leave that survey up for 30 days?
That was pretty much our consensus, is to leave it out there for 30 days. Ms. Gorey, I guess.
Ms. Gorey?
Well, it's not, I think Ms. Baker is, give a little bit more detail, because we don't want the perception in that we're just putting a survey up. We said that would just be one of the means that we would get information, because we realized that everybody doesn't have a computer. So we were saying that we would have surveys hard copy. And actually, I think that before we put anything up, I'm getting ready to mess up her last name, so if she doesn't mind, I'm just gonna call her Vicky. Our communications director actually gave us a little bit more, some other things to look at as well, because she was saying that we could, involve the Chamber of Commerce and, just so we can communicate. And what we're trying to say, you all, this survey is not going to determine the search. It's determining the best way for you all. You're going to give us suggestions on how you want to communicate with us, okay? That might even include, your suggestion may be forums, this, that, and the other, but we're just going to compile the information that you give to us so we can best get your input.
Thank you, Ms. Gorey. Good comments well made. Ms. Baker, did you wish to address that again? Mr. Bivens.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to mention that there is also a place on this for comment. So it's not just yes or no. We also have a space on there for comment, because, I'm not trying to create the wheel. I'm willing to take anybody's suggestion. Thank you.
Mr. Bivens, I hit my clear button. Did you wish to speak? I cleared out. You're okay? Okay, good. Board, this does not require a vote since we voted last time. And if you are satisfied with this committee's work, then we're ready to move forward. Ms. Gorey?
Actually, I wanted to know whether or not Ms. Baker and, well, since we're going to meet Saturday, I hate to try to give Ms. Vicky an assignment, but,
No, ma'am,
you know,
you cannot do that.
I know I'm not trying to micromanage. I'm about to ask.
But through your superintendent.
Huh?
But through your superintendent. you
Ask
may.
the superintendent. Just drop a note.
Well,
to the
you,
superintendent.
you have interrupted me. That's what
I'm
I
so
was-
sorry, Ms.
That's
Gurry.
what I was getting ready to say.
Thank you so much. I was just trying to save us all. So,
I was getting ready to say, Ms. Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible that maybe that Ms. Vicky could meet with us because she sent us an email back and kind of, you know, did some little brainstorming so that we can get it perfected since she is the director of communications, you know, so it'll be a little bit more refined. That's what I'm asking. Now, you can say no, but I did ask. Or else we can get together and meet with her at some point because we actually are the committee that has been appointed by the board chair to do this task.
Thank you, Ms. Gorey. We are down to recommendations from executive session on our agenda. I'm sorry. Ms. Baker wishes to interrupt. Yes, Ms. Baker.
I hate to correct the superintendent, but I've just received a notification that the Jonesboro High School team will be in Macon playing at 8:45.
okay.
So get dinner and then come to the game.
All right. Sounds great.
And Ms. Baker, I'm glad that you interrupted because I had neglected to say something the superintendent reminded me of. When this whole business of surveys came about, the superintendent went back and compiled the results from the survey that was done immediately after we started talking about, well, immediately after Dr. Heatley resigned. And so, board members, you will receive the results of that this evening to take home with you and look through because it's extensive, and you'll be able to look through that. So, now moving forward to recommendations from executive session. Let's consider, first of all, the Student Tribunal. This is Student Tribunal 2013-14-03. So is there a recommendation from the board, or a motion from the board, I'm sorry, concerning Student Tribunal 2013-2014-03? Ms. Baker.
Madam Chair, in the matter of the case of 2013-2014-03, I make the motion to modify the Student Tribunal decision to provide a modified discipline as discussed in executive session.
Is there a second to that motion? Ms. Burrows?
I second the motion.
Thank you. And board members, it's time to vote. The motion passes with 6 in favor and 3 in opposition. Next, we need to bring from executive session a personnel recommendation, and I'll let Ms. Jackson bring that to you.
I'd like to recommend a candidate for the position of Coordinator of Exceptional Education, Charles Kelly.
I need a motion regarding the superintendent's recommendation of Charles Kelly to be the Coordinator of Exceptional Education. Ms. Gorey?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Christmas? And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. And it is unanimous.
Thank you. Is Mr. Kelly here? Thank you, sir.
And finally, board members, we were presented with an administrative re-election list, and I need a motion regarding your pleasure with this. Ms. Baker?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the administration re-election.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson?
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
And board members, it is time to vote your pleasure on that particular issue. The motion passes with 5 votes in favor, 3 in opposition, and 1 abstention. Mr. King?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. Lack of sufficient student achievement data.
Thank you, Mr. King. All right. Having completed all the items on our agenda, then I do, without a protest from the board, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.